pool.
Podstream is brought to you by Mr. Dirk. From casual wear to suits and formals, Mr. Dirk helps you find the perfect fit with the right look for any occasion. Step up your wardrobe at MrDirk.com. How we doing, folks? Happy Friday night to you, and welcome to Got Your Back. I kind of forgot how these off-season pods feel. A little more chill, a little more relaxed, right? Don't have a game to break down, but we got lots going on, including the general manager and the head coach doing their year-end media availability today. What did you think of what they had to say? We will dive into all of that. Struddy is somewhere over the Pacific on a plane. But we do have Brownie, we do have Zuby, and myself. By the way, special guest a little bit later on in the show as well. People on Twitter, people in the oilogosphere would know, has been a presence for years. Dennis King making his Got Your Back debut. Yes, Dennis King. It was a great conversation. So looking forward to presenting that to you as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. This has Got Your Back presented by Play Alberta. Why would you choose Play Alberta? Well, ask any hockey fan who loves odds boosts, player props and same-game parlays, or slots players who love big jackpots, lottery players who can grab last-minute tickets on the go. Deposit today, get a $50 free bet with the code GYB06. That is at playalberta.ca. I'm home here in my Adrenaline Diesel studio. They got an all-new 24/7 mobile truck service truck ready to go for roadside emergencies, scheduled repairs, diagnostics, anytime, anywhere for service truck emergencies. Give them a call, 780-907-1965, and then dial extension 119. All right, boys. Struddy is away, so it's just the core group here, Brownie, Zuby, and myself.
Yeah, we got the brains here. We got the brains here. We're just missing the self-proclaimed beauty. So I think it's going to be a pretty good show tonight.
He does talk a lot about how good looking he is, doesn't he, Zuby? Like a kind of a stunning amount. That's his go-to.
He does. He seems to put himself ahead of everybody except Henrik Lundqvist. So I think it goes Lundqvist, then him, and then we're all down off the screen here somewhere.
I saw Henrik Lundqvist at the excuse me, at the Stanley Cup final. And like, I didn't cover him that much, so he doesn't know me, like as a media guy, or know who I am. And I just said, hey, you know, Henrik, I've got the pod with Struddy. I said, I was the one you did the clothing video for. And he was like, oh, that was you. I said, yeah. He's like, yeah, I was happy to do that one. So, and he had a good laugh. But then he talked about what a beauty he is. But for anybody who doesn't recall that, this classic Got Your Back soundbite.
You are an absolute horrendous dresser. Is this guy blind? I hope you have a great day.
Oh, yes, Henrik Lundqvist. But what do we think Struds wears on the plane, Brownie? Long flight.
I think he'd wear joggers from Lululemon. He would have a big sweatshirt on. Colorful. I think it'd be very colorful. He's probably the guy that wears the eye patch to help him sleep. I could see him having one of those on too.
For
probably
sure.
We'd have some earplugs in. It would be poor. Yeah, he'd be stretched out, like taking up everyone else's room. It literally is. Like, I know that he's got a segment on the show called Struddy's World, but really, this is Struddy's World, and we're just renting time in it. So. Yeah, I think he's got the entire plane to himself right now, and everyone else just kind of squeezing and trying to find their own little spot to get out of Struddy's world.
I feel like he'd have the visor on, hey Zuby, the golf visor.
I can't. After Brownie mentioned the sleep mask, I can't get that visual out of my head. I think I feel like, and it's probably pink, lots of like adornments. I could see it being a big kerfuffle with him getting on the plane.
Yeah, he's wearing the antler. He's wearing the elk antlers.
Elk man.
Kayla Weathern coming in hot here. To be fair, I sometimes have to rewatch what Struddy says because I'm distracted by his good looks. But the same can be said for all y'all studs. So Kayla, welcome. Thank you. We appreciate your contributions. And I agree with most of what you had to say there. By the way, guys, I forgot to tell this story yesterday. It makes me look bad, but I wasn't at Stan Bowman's availability today because, well, you know, I still can't stand up. This heel and this Achilles tendon, like I'm crawling around the house. It's gonna be fine, but so I couldn't go today. But it reminded me when it flared up on the road in the playoffs here. So get this, you guys. The Oilers have just lost. They have just lost. Their season is over. And we do the interviews in this little auxiliary room, and I come walking out of there, and I'm like half stepping. And I've got like a suit on with these orthotic running shoes. I look ridiculous. And I'm limping out of the room to head to the press conference room. Kris Knoblauch is standing there with Jamie Cartmell, the PR guy. He's waiting to go do his press conference, which I'm trying to get to. And he looks and sees me coming. And I mean, probably one of the worst moments of his entire life. And he sees me and goes, "Are you okay, Ryan?" And he asked me if I was okay. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. My Achilles tendon blew up." I said, "Thank you for asking, Kris, but I'll be fine." And he goes, "It's been a bit of a rough playoff for you, hey?"
Here's a guy who just had his dreams crushed, and you look even worse than he feels. Like that, you must look really good.
Well, that's how I looked coming out of that locker room. But by the way, that's how nice a guy Kris Knoblauch is, by the way. That is how cordial and kind and thoughtful a guy he is. Anyways, Struds, I told that story to Struds last night. We were chatting after the show. Brownie, Struds, and I talk after every show for quite a while. It's a tight bond we have.
I thought
I
told the show ended when I left. I didn't know you guys kept going. Like, seriously?
I told that story. He's like, "Dude, you have to tell people that." So I told him I would let everybody know today. Okay, gents, we got lots to break down on the show. Yeah, Dennis King hopping onto the show tonight. Dennis is an interesting guy. You know, I followed him for years. You know, we've had at it a few times, man. He's one of those guys that, you know, a few years ago was a little aggressive at times on Twitter, right? Wasn't afraid to come at the media pretty hard. You know, that's going to, you know, get me all my hackles up because I can be sensitive that way. And so it was kind of like this, but I always thought he had smart things to say. And so, you know, we've been chatting a little bit this season, and, you know, I think he's maybe dialed it back a little bit. I'm maybe a little bit less sensitive. And so we reached this place where we were like, let's do it, buddy. So he's got some really interesting analytics-based opinions, and that's coming up a little bit later on in our Take a Lap segment. We pre-taped that interview earlier today, and I thought it was great, and we look forward to that. We're also going to do Ask Us Anything a little bit early tonight. So if you have questions for Brownie, questions for me, questions for Zuby, fire them in. And we'll get that segment done in a little bit. But for right now, let's get to our breakdown because the general manager and coach spoke today. It's brought to you by the Alberta Ram dealers. Ram trucks continue to deliver with power, style, and innovation. The 2025 Ram 1500 features a bold new powertrain, redesigned exterior, state-of-the-art technology. Check out the most awarded light-duty truck ever. See your Ram dealer today. All right, guys, the general manager spoke today. And Brownie, I know you looked into some of what he had to say. I listened to it all. He covered a whole bunch of topics. I think where we will start, though, is his perception of the goaltending situation and what he feels needs to be done. Here is Stan Bowman in the Weiss Johnson soundbox on the tenders.
It's not like you just go down to the corner and pick up an elite goalie. They're not just waiting for you to join your team, right? So how many are there anyways in that group? And then even if you look at the guys I think were considered elite, some of them have had some tough playoffs. So there's no guarantee in the goaltending world. That's why I said it's simultaneously the most important, but it's also in some instances not why teams win. So, you know, if you have a strong enough team, then there's been teams that win the cup without elite goaltending, and there's been teams that won because of their goalie. So, you know, it's a great discussion point, and I think it's what the media and the fans love to talk about. I get it. I understand that. So we've got to, you know, take in that information and sift through it and come up with a plan. And that's what we're going to do over the next few weeks and months.
All right. And he basically said, they're going to look, Brownie, they're going to look to see if there isn't something that makes sense. But as I talked about yesterday, Brownie, I don't think there's this crazed sense of urgency to fix this right now that some fans and the most critical of Skinner fans out there would want there to be.
Well, I think part of it is, and he touched on it right at the very beginning, like which elite goaltender is going to be available. And then if there's an elite goaltender available, what's it going to cost you from a trade standpoint and a money standpoint? The Florida Panthers can afford to pay their goalie $10 million a year because they don't have any other players making $10 million a year. So that's where they put their money. The Oilers don't have that luxury. They're paying different players. Everybody has, the backbone of their team, and they get paid the most. Well, they went out, the Florida Panthers, and gave $80 million contract to their goaltender. And they felt that was a guy that could take them to the next level. And he has. But no other player on that team makes as much as he does. So what the Oilers need is consistency in net. And I don't think going to the Stanley Cup Finals or going to the playoffs, going back and forth from one goalie to another, is a recipe for success. So I think he will look at the market, but there's nothing that you can say right now that if the Oilers went and got this guy, they're going to be a better hockey club. I just don't know if that guy's available right now.
Yeah. I mean, the free agent, in terms of the free agent class, there's not a pile of guys that are sitting there. And that was Bowman's point, not like they're sitting there waiting for you to pick up. I mean, Jake Allen at 34 years of age had a .908 save percentage in 31 games played, 2.66 goals against average. I mean, the top guys from a save percentage standpoint, Anton Forsberg, barely over 900. So it's not like there's these real obvious choices. So you go trade route if you think John Gibson has it in him. Maybe you find a trade there and you bring him in. So there are a few different avenues to do it, but I just think Brownie, he'll take a pretty patient approach to figuring it out. Right? Said he's already been on the phone with general managers, already looking into it, I'm sure. But I don't think that if they start the season with the two goalies they have right now, that it's some egregious error that just can't possibly be acceptable.
Well, I think the egregious error, if they panicked and went and made a trade that doesn't work out, or they gave up too much, or they paid too much, that would be the error. What they do know, and they know this because it has been proven, they know the two goalies they got can get them to at least Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah. So they're safe for a while with these two guys. Now, if you want over the course of between today and the trade deadline, to try to improve in that position, I mean, to me, every position can be improved on. If you find someone to make you better, then Bouchard, then Nugent Hopkins, then Hyman, all players, if you can make your team better, you do it. And obviously that is with a goaltender. So I don't think it needs to be done now, but I think, Stan Bowman's not dumb. He watched the playoffs and he watched it. There were nights his goaltending was really good, and there was nights that it wasn't consistent enough. They didn't get enough big saves at big moments. I don't think Skinner let a lot of bad goals in, but moments where they needed him, they didn't get the big save. And I think that's one thing that hurt the Oilers here, and one of the big reasons they didn't win the Stanley Cup.
Canadian says, John Gibson with retained salary is worth the gamble to me. I can't help but wonder, too, a little bit about John Gibson. And there was a lot of heat around him at the trade deadline, people feeling like that'd be a good option for them. The thing about John Gibson, I mean, he's shown he's got a pretty good high end when he's rolling and when he's going. But he's been in a place where the hockey hasn't really meant a lot for quite some time, Brownie. And I can't help but wonder, like, I think about Seth Jones, and I think about your perception of Seth Jones and what he's capable of and how that changed after a few years in Chicago, where he was just beaten down and it wasn't really what he wanted to be there for. And then all of a sudden you rejuvenate this player that is a high pedigree player, and you rejuvenate them on a team that has a chance and that's competitive, and you unlock something in them. So if he can avoid injury, I feel like there's a good goalie there that you could potentially unlock, but it just all depends risk reward and the dollar figure.
Well, and you said the I word there, injury. That's the biggest knock on him is he's been injured for.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we had Jamie McLennan on earlier this year, and he talked about how many times he'd been pulled himself in hockey games because of injury. So you make the big move to get him to come in, and all of a sudden, game 3 of the playoffs, he removes himself from the net because he's hurt again. I guess everybody, any trade you make, and we saw this year with Frederick, injuries do happen, and it really handcuffs you when the player you were looking forward to seeing play isn't healthy enough. But there is a track record with Gibson, and it's a track record not just one season long. It's a number of seasons long where this guy just seems to find injury after injury after injury. And that's something that the Oilers can ill afford going into the playoffs too.
Yeah, 29 games played, 912 save percentage this year, 2.73 goals against average on an Anaheim team that didn't have a lot going for him. I wonder too, Brownie, like I would view it as figuring out a way to keep Skinner and Gibson and have them basically be a 1-1B tandem so that Gibson doesn't have to carry the load of a full-on starter. And you can let them compete. Now, the word around the trade deadline was he wasn't looking for that necessarily. He wanted to go somewhere and be the guy. There were those reports. I didn't love that. If that's the case, I didn't love that. I think at his age and his situation, I mean, he's 31, but you got to be willing to go in and beat a good goalie and prove that you're still a good goalie and win the position. Just trying to call your shot that no matter where I go, I'm going to be the guy. I didn't love that if that is the case.
Well, no, I agree. I mean, Brad Marchand went to Florida and was a third-line player. I mean, he didn't go. I mean, he was a first-line player in Boston, was their second-best player. Seth Jones went in, and I mean, injury allowed him to get his feet wet there. No, I don't think you get to go into another organization that's already had success and say, "This is what I want." That does not work in most dressing rooms in the National Hockey League.
Mm-hmm. Happy saying, "Hey Shoggy, how about Dan Vladar? 30 starts with the Calgary Flames, .898 save percentage and a 2.80 goals against average." I don't know that you're giving yourself a chance at upgrading on Skinner. Like, I think if you're going to bring somebody in, you're going to bring them in going, this is probably an upgrade on Stu. If Stu doesn't take a step, we've probably got an upgrade on him. I think you need to feel that you're doing that, Brownie, for this to make sense. Otherwise, you're just paying somebody more to come do what Calvin Pickard could do for $1 million.
Yeah, and I mean, Dan Vladar, I mean, he's had nice moments, but also he lost his job in Calgary. Yeah. So it's not as though I agree. I don't think that's an upgrade. I think that's going sideways and maybe not even as good as Stuart Skinner. So I don't think that's the move. I mean, Gibson does have a higher ceiling, and he's shown that before. I just don't think there's you're not getting one of the best in the world. You're just not. The Oilers can't afford one. And if you've got one of the best goalies in the world, you're not getting rid of him.
All right, let's get back to our Weiss Johnson sound box, brought to you by Weiss Johnson Heating and Air Conditioning. The summer weather is here. If you don't have an AC yet, don't wait any longer. Weiss Johnson's your home comfort specialist. Give them a call and enjoy a summer with a brand new AC unit specializing in servicing your existing mechanical systems or installing new ones. Visit weiss-johnson.com today. Jingle.
Weiss Johnson, whoa. We're proud to be local.
Okay, Stan Bowman on potential changes coming up.
We're going to have some changes. We're not going to bring the same group back. How many is tough to say right now. Like, that's where the work begins really yesterday when we met with all of our players. And I also had several conversations with other GMs. I've had some again this morning already. And so that work will play out over the next 10 days to
also said this.
be more likely the forwards and the goalies are the ones we're going to evaluate the most deeply.
All right, we just discussed the goalies. Let's talk about the forwards. So here's what I see, Brownie. I see the list of guys coming back, right? Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid, and Zach Hyman. I'm kind of reading in lines here. I'm going to put a question mark on Leon Draisaitl's left wing, put Leon Draisaitl at center. I'm going to throw Savoy over on the right side, just because. Then you go Trent Frederick, Adam Henrique, and a question mark over on the right side. I'm going to go Vasily Podkolzin, Matthias Janmark, and I'm going to put Corey Perry on that fourth line. Then you've got Tomasek, who they signed, and I think they're hopeful might be able to push for a spot. And you've also got Max Jones, who you traded for. Could be in the American League, could push for a spot. So to me, this is a likely list of returning forwards. You notice the two that aren't on there, Evander Kane and Victor Arvidsson, are not on there. I don't know if they're going to be able to move both of these guys, Brownie. I don't know. But I do believe that attempts will be made to see if there can't be a change of scenery. I think Kane, my sense is Kane has played his last game with the Oilers. That's my sense. I think the case could be made that, you know, he's pretty good in contract years. And if there was ever a time you could move this player, it might be right now because, I mean, everybody knows he's going to be a motivated player. He's going to be focused and probably give his best next season. And I think it's run its course here in Edmonton and that he likely is a tradable asset. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think he'll be back. I think they would like to move on from Arvidsson. What's he make, $4 million this year or next year? And he's a healthy scratch most of the playoffs. So yeah, so that he does not fit into what they want. So they're going to try and move him, but I don't know I know he's got some sort of no trade, so it's not going to be easy.
He does. Yeah.
So and I'm going to go back to what I've said in September all the way through June. The Oilers need to find a second line. And I argued all year long that Podkolzin and Arvidsson are not second line players. You have the best player in the NHL this year was Leon Draisaitl. And throughout the season, he played with fourth line players. In the playoffs, when they played against a team that was deep up front, the Oilers had to put Connor and Leon together because Leon had nobody that could play at his level or close to it. For the Oilers to take that next step, I think they need, and I know that you have Savoy there, but that's a hope. That's just a hope. I mean, he's a kid that's got, how many, 5, 10 NHL games? I hope he makes it. I hope he has success. But you're hoping that he can play on Leon Draisaitl's line. It's not easy. Arvidsson couldn't do it, and he's got, 7 30-goal seasons. Skinner couldn't do it. He's had 8 40-goal seasons. So you're hoping Savoy. The Edmonton Oilers need to upgrade the second line, and you can't just keep finding guys and plugging them in there. They need someone that's real if you want to be a legit two-line team, because the Oilers aren't right now. So I don't think Arvidsson will be back. I don't think Kane will be back. But that money, if they have that money left over, they have to upgrade Leon Draisaitl's line because Podkolzin is not a second-line player.
Braden Bauer says, anyone know if Freddie is signing for sure? Maybe Ryan, what's your thoughts? Yeah, I believe that the Trent Frederick signing will be announced here fairly shortly. It's not $4 million. It's below $4 million. I think it's just below $4 million. And I think it's going to be extensive term. I think Trent Frederick allows you to move on from Evander Kane and feel like he's not as ferocious as Kane was earlier on in his career, Frederick, I would say. But Kane is not necessarily that same player now. But Trent Frederick, Brownie, is a guy who will finish checks, can score you, anywhere from 15 to 19, 20 goals in a season, maybe more if he gets elevated and has the right wingers. I mean, that's what he's done before, Brownie. That's what he's done before.
Boston, but different teams, not going to get the same opportunities here in Edmonton that he had in Boston. If he's a third line center, they don't look at the Oilers' third and fourth lines. They don't score. They just don't.
But you don't think that a player that has scored 18 goals before on this team when he's healthy and skating well?
Jeff Skinner scored 40. Arvidsson scored 30. They didn't score here.
But you don't think that he'll get a look in the top 6?
No. I don't think so. You said you want him to be the third line center.
No. I have him in there for the purposes of running through. I actually had him on the left wing on the third line. But my point is that for the dollar figure they're going to pay him and where the cap is going, people are going to balk a little bit at this contract. But I think he'll be able to be a third line player. And he might even be able to moonlight a little bit in the top 6 because he does have some ability to score some goals, right? Corey Perry with 19 goals spent a bunch of time in the top 6.
Yeah, different play. Corey Perry is a goal scorer. Frederick's not.
For sure. But he can be around it. We'll see. You know what? We'll see. Unless the Oilers go and get guys that are locked into that spot and are for sure Leon top 6 forwards, I don't see a scenario where Frederick doesn't get a look in the top 6 if the Oilers don't go get obvious top 6 players that they don't have now.
But and this goes back to what I say. The Oilers need to. They have to go get someone for Leon to play with. Frederick and Savoy is not a second line in the National Hockey League. It's not. You've got Leon Draisaitl, the best passer in the NHL, he was the best forward in the NHL this year. And he was Podkolzin and Arvidsson. No, so Savoy and Frederick are not an upgrade on Podkolzin and Arvidsson. So I think they legitimately have to go find someone that is a true top 6 player to play with Leon Draisaitl.
Yep, great point. So the money, where do you find the money, right? Let's say Evan Bouchard gets $11 million. I'm going to say 11. It might be 10-5, 10-2-5, 10, who knows, but it might be 11. It very well might be 11. So let's be let's be conservative with that number and say it's 11 million to Bouchard. So really that gobbles up pretty much the cap space that the Oilers have. And then if you can move Evander Kane, if you can move Victor Arvidsson, let's say you're able to do those things without retaining any salary, you can clear up around $9 million. And so now you're in a situation where if you want to change the goaltending equation a little bit, how much do you chew up trying to do that? Now you're looking for a top 6 player. I mean, anybody legitimate, it's going to be $4 million plus. That's going to be a lock in your top 4, Brownie. So, how much money do you actually have to go out there and try to accomplish these things? That's why if you want to meaningfully move the dial next to Leon Draisaitl, it's going to have to be Arvidsson and Kane on the way out, because there's just not a lot of money there.
Well, yeah, because you also have $6 million extra going to Leon the next year too. That's where his contract kicks in. So between Bouchard and Leon, that's $12 million of the salary cap gone that they didn't have this year on their books. So I don't know where they find it. They do have to move on from players. They do need, and this is where it goes back to what Struds has been talking about for years, the younger players coming up on those good contracts, on their first contracts. Those are huge to be able to plug those guys into your lineup. I don't know how Bowman's going to do it, but we saw in the playoffs what a deep team in Florida can do. And the Oilers weren't deep. They weren't deep enough. And they had to start putting Connor and Leon together. Leon Draisaitl needs a winger, someone that can score. He is the best passer in the National Hockey League, and he has not had a pure goal scorer outside of playing with Connor McDavid.
Boy, they could use Matt Savoy coming in, haven't had a great summer, looking great in camp, sniping, feeling good. Put in a decent season in the American Hockey League. I think they like the player. That would be a huge break for the organization if he looked like he could come in and compete for some of those minutes. Last comment here from Stan Bowman, and then we'll move on to our next segment. Bowman on Connor McDavid.
Well, Connor's the best player in the league, the most important player in the league. He's our captain. He's our leader. So certainly he's the number one priority. I think also listening to Connor's take on things, like he's earned the right for us to be respectful of his timing. Certainly we're eager to meet with him whenever he wants.
Another comment here.
Yes, it's, I guess, my job to connect with Connor that way and demonstrate that's what we're all trying to do. We all have the same objective, and I know how passionate he is about winning. It's what I love about him. I mean, he's not just a fantastic hockey player, but he's a great person, a great leader, and he's incredibly motivated to do whatever it takes.
All right. So, Brownie, as we suspected last night, I mean, this is Connor McDavid's to run and Judd Moldaver's to run. Timing, term, dollars, very much it is.
It is. And building a team for Stan Bowman or any general managers, you have a puzzle and you're trying to fit pieces in. And it's not just pieces in for next season. You have to look the following season and the year after. Connor McDavid is going to get, and at the low 16, at the high 20, somewhere in there. So for Stan Bowman, if he's trying to make deals with players, free agents coming in, and if they've got any term left on their contract, the sooner that Connor signs, the sooner he will know what he will have available season after next. And I think it works better the sooner he signs, but it's also Connor McDavid. He's making a decision whether it's for 2, 4, or 8 years where he wants to spend them. And I think if anyone in the National Hockey League has earned that right, I think Connor McDavid has it. But for the team, for Stan Bowman, the sooner it's done, the easier to sell to other teams, to other players. Here, come with us. We've got Leon and Connor signed for this many years, and you also know how much money you have available for the next 8 seasons. So let's hope it's sooner rather than later.
All right, that was our breakdown brought to you by the Alberta Ram Dealers. We're going to push through to our Relentless Player, brought to you by UCAN Youth Services at Edmonton Charity Relentless, in providing possibility for the youth in our community. With 2 in-house counselors providing a free therapy session, their youth have support while they navigate their struggles and rediscover their strength. Visit ucan.ca to donate today. What did we decide we were doing with this, Subi? Were we going Brad Marchand on this one?
Yeah, that was the...
So this kind of leads into the next discussion we're going to have. Coming up in takeaways, how have you felt about the celebrations going on in Fort Lauderdale, folks? How have you felt about the videos coming out of the bar, the videos coming out of the beach, the chirping, the trolling, the chiming, all of that? I know it stings. I also know you've been looking at it. I know you've been sharing it in your chat groups. I know that it's been a topic of conversation. So we're going to dive into that in our next segment. But Brad Marchand had one that I thought was pretty good. We'll give him our Relentless Player because he has been relentless with some of these chirps. But this was one of the best ones. Thank you to all the other teams out there that helped build this. Thanks, Blackhawks. Thanks, Rangers, as he's tweeting pictures on Instagram of all the new players that came from other places. Brownie, this was pretty good. Pretty creative.
It is funny, and I got buddies who are just hating everything Marchand did, and then I'm like reminding them, but if he was doing this after Canada wins the gold medal and he starts chirping all the Americans, we would all be loving it. So this one is original. It is good. It is. Every time I see it, I giggle. So the thing is, when you win, you can do whatever you want. Right.
We'll get into that next segment. Because was there a line crossed? There was one. There was one. All right. Well, I look forward to hearing what line you think may have been crossed. That's coming up in our next segment. Zoobs, do you want to do the poll right now? Did you put it up already?
I did put it up. Yeah, we can do it now.
Yeah, let's go for it, buddy. And that is brought to you by our good friends over at DeBoer's Golf Shop and Fitting Center. Golf season's in full swing, so if your clubs aren't cutting it, they've got you covered. Locally owned and operated, DeBoer's Golf's been in business over 25 years. They're ready to help you play better golf. Lots of stock, lots of great stuff there. It's an amazing place, friendly atmosphere. 53rd Ave, 99th Street, or at DeBoersGolf.com. Zuby, what do you got, buddy? And by the way, this is all you. I said to you, do what you want with this poll. This is all you as the voice of the fan.
And this is to the stream, to the fans. Get to vote here. The question is, which of these best describes how you feel about the Panthers trolling the Oilers on social media? So these are your 4 choices. Choice 1, they won. They could do whatever they want. Option 2, classless, bunch of jerks. Option 3 is they think about us more than we think about them. And the 4th option is Connor McDavid is in their heads. It's jealousy.
Wow. Okay. And a reminder, that's from the brain of Zuby the fan.
Just an opinion, an opinion poll. An opinion poll. And you know what?
Man. It's good.
Before I even put the poll up, and I had it here, some of these thoughts I already saw similar wording in some of these thoughts in the chat.
Yes.
And it's kind of taking a sample of stuff I've seen in the comments on social media, which is a terrible place to hang out, but I got sucked in. So
I love it, buddy. That's a great poll. So everybody chime in and we'll get to results. We'll actually do the results fairly quickly here. So make sure you chime in now. Also a reminder, we're going to do Ask Us Anything a little sooner than we normally do as well. Also, Zuby, for Ask Us, somebody challenged me a little bit on the Trent Frederick contract. Mm-hmm. So grab that one and make sure you drop it into Ask Us Anything, because I do want to explain my logic on that one a little bit and see where Brownie's head is at. All right. Lots more ahead on the show when we come back. You got her dialed into Got Your Back, presented by Play Alberta.
Choosing the right health and dental coverage can feel overwhelming, but Alberta Blue Cross is here to make it simple. Their user-friendly website features a free quote tool to guide you through choosing your plan, or you can chat directly with one of their specialists for personalized help. Every plan includes access to personal, nutritional, and financial counseling at no extra cost. Visit ab.bluecross.ca/personal to learn more.
Join over 250,000 Canadians who have upgraded to Canada's best mattress. Douglas is proudly made in Canada and ships directly to your door for free. Douglas is easy to set up. Enjoy perfectly balanced comfort and an easy-to-clean machine washable cover. Get a free sleep bundle with your Douglas mattress. Try risk-free for 365 nights. Get your Douglas mattress today.
At Gallery Dental, we believe in blending exceptional care with artistry to create the perfect smile for you. From routine cleanings to advanced cosmetic procedures, our team is dedicated to providing top-notch care in a relaxed and comfortable environment. With state-of-the-art technology and a passion for perfection, we ensure that every visit is a positive experience. Join the Gallery Dental family and let us help you achieve a smile that you'll love to show off. Contact us today at secolandentistry.com.
All right, we back, and it is time now for Takeaways, brought to you by Horizon Ag and Turf. They are your John Deere golf and sports turf equipment supplier. Before the first golfer tees off, crews are hard at work, right? We all see them out there. And their most valuable teammate, John Deere golf equipment, fairway mowers, greens, rollers, bunker rakes, and more. Easy to operate, built to last, and backed by the best support in the business. Visit them for all your equipment to keep the course running at HorizonAGTurf.com. They make our playtime possible with those beautiful pieces of machinery over at Horizon Ag and Turf. I know Chris Parsons from over at Martin Motorsports and Horizon. He's going to love this segment. He lives and dies and breathes it all with the Oilers every step of the way. Zuby, you can hop in here for this conversation too, buddy, because as our voice of the fan, I think you're going to do a good job representing it. Oh, boys, we've seen some stuff. There have been some videos from Fort Lauderdale that have been coming out. We can't show all of them because there's a lot of F-bombs happening and this and that. I'll kind of lay this out there for you, Zuby. We want to show a few, but there have been some of them that are like definitely catching fire a little more than others. So what did you grab that we can actually show, Zuby?
We've got Marshy with his smug little look and his Oilers logo sticker. Okay, we'll get into this one. This one has sound as well, but it's not relevant. It's just some music.
Yeah. So these are Oiler logos that it says losers, right? Instead, that's what they've done to the Oiler logo. So they've, it's like they've butchered and Frankenstein the Oiler logo to say losers. And look at that look on his face. So there's that one. What else you got, Zuby, that we're going to show here?
And then we got Matthew Tkachuk here in the with his belt on and
this one
beaking off a little. Here we go. Oh, here we go.
Connor McDavid, who?
Connor McDavid, who? And then he reaches for the stars with the belt on and the beer in his hand. That one is the one, I'm not going to lie to you, in my chat groups and my cousins and brothers and my wife and stepdaughters, that was the one, fellas, that it was just like, what is going on? They were apoplectic over it. Brownie, what do you think, buddy? You've played in the league. Is this unacceptable?
I had no problem with the Tkachuk one. I didn't. I had more problem with the Marchand one where it said loser. I mean, you don't do that. My guess is someone had the sticker and put it on him, and he let them do it. But that one, I didn't really care for that one. The Tkachuk one, that was Forsling on stage, was it not? It looked like Forsling, who was a guy that was tasked with trying to slow down Connor McDavid. And I thought Forsling did an incredible job. So that was more or less Tkachuk saying, this is Forsling, Connor McDavid, who this guy just did that again. Yeah, so I didn't mind that one.
Yeah.
So so I didn't mind that one. Then the fans start chanting. Well, I was and they're yelling F McDavid. Well, I was at the Oiler before game thing the other night when before game 5, and they were all yelling F Florida. So like the whole crowd was doing it. So it's not as though the Oiler fans weren't saying the same thing. So I had no problem with Tkachuk saying that. I didn't, because it was Forsling. What he was doing was pumping up Forsling. So I didn't mind that.
There were videos of actual Panther players doing the F McDavid, I believe, too, right? Zuby, was there not one of Rugby?
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing when the fans do that, but it's players that were in the series also doing that. And can we all agree, like, I've never seen that before in Stanley Cup celebration online stuff. I've never seen that level of aggression towards the opponent that lost. Have you guys, or am I just missing it?
I've never been on social media, so I don't know. Seriously, I've never been on social media, so I have no idea.
No, I've never seen it like this. And I think about, and you know what? To me, it's all fair game. It doesn't bother me. I think it's almost kind of bizarre that it does, like that they're almost like they're like making their win more about the Oilers almost than it was about them, where I thought when I think back to the one I think about that really exploded on social media was when the Capitals won the cup, right? And because Ovechkin just like partied so hard for the entire summer, he was all over social media. He was wild and he was crazy and he was so much fun, but he didn't mention Vegas. He didn't talk about Vegas. He didn't talk about, was Eichel there already? I don't think, was Eichel there yet? I don't think he was, but he wasn't making it about Vegas. It was like about him and his team and the great quotes about.
Yeah, but you know what, Zuby? I think this point you're making, and I've heard this, right? Like, and it's one of the options on the poll. I think this is imagination of Oiler fans. I think this is a way to make themselves feel better by saying, because these are a few videos that are coming out, but really they've been partying for 3 straight days and we're seeing these tiny little snippets. I don't think that this is happening because the Oilers are truly in their head and that they've made their Stanley Cup win all about the Edmonton Oilers. And so, really, I think that is a fan notion that people are just trying to make themselves feel better. Sorry to be harsh about that. That's my take on that.
That's fine. That's not even my vote. I'd vote for, as I said, they won. They can do whatever. That would be my vote. They won. Yeah. They get to do whatever they want. But I think it's also not, it's not like it was one video. So you can say it's not, they're not making it about the Oilers, but it's not one video. It's like, we're talking about like dozens of instances. So I don't know. I just find it strange. Even when the stuff starts leaking out, I would almost think as the players, you might be like, oh yeah, I don't want this to be about that. Let's make it more about us. I don't know. It doesn't make me feel better, but I think they have the right to do it.
Stay off social media if it bothers you. That's the biggest thing. If it bothers you, don't watch it, because you know what? Kachuk's not going to call me up and say something in my phone. So I know that if I don't search this out, I'm not going to see it. The one thing I did read, though, I can't remember what it was. I think it was James Duffy that wrote it, that said it, was that this, from everything that he has heard from people near ice level, this was one of the most vicious trash talking series they've ever witnessed. Like, these two teams hate each other. So I don't think the Oilers are in their head. I think this is the Florida Panthers continuing. Remember what you said to me after game 4? Is more or less what they're saying. So that to me is what I don't care. I don't think Connor or Leon or Nuge or Nurse care. They're not following this social media. So to me, it's like, they can have their fun. They earned the right to be able to celebrate with the Stanley Cup, whether we like it or not. So the next opportunity we get to, you know what social media would be like, or what it was like after the Team Canada beat the US? I think we were pretty harsh on Kachuk. And I think if the Canada wins the gold medal, that Oiler fans will be pretty harsh on Kachuk, actually both Kachuks, if Canada wins the gold medal against the US. So to me, social media is like, if you don't want to see it, don't. Really, you don't have to watch any of these videos if you don't want to.
Gabriella C says, can we stop talking about this now, please? I know, Gabriella, I know it's painful. I apologize. Did want to get into it a little bit here. This is the thing, though. Here's the question. Is that, like, if you're Paul Maurice and you're seeing all this stuff and you're like, the question out there is, are they kind of being sort of poor sports-ish about it? And does there come a time where all of this stuff is regurgitated? And an Oiler fan wants to believe this, that like there'll be a video at some point that the Oilers are shown before next year's Stanley Cup final against the Panthers. And that this will be like bulletin board material. right? And that
Yeah,
this will be something that, you know, blah, blah. That's what Oiler fan, I think, wants to believe, Brownie. But like, I'm here to tell you.
That's the dumbest thing ever. It's dumb.
Okay.
Because
But
guess what? If they're in the Stanley Cup Finals, they don't need the motivation of what Matthew Tkachuk said. They're fighting for the Stanley Cup.
A year ago.
They don't need Bulletin. They don't need bullet board stuff. It's simple. Connor McDavid talks. The only thing he wants to do is win. I don't think he's going to say, I want to win a little bit more because Matthew Tkachuk said mean things about me. It's not going to change the desperation that McDavid plays with. So no, I think none of this matters. Now, if the Oilers win, then they'll go back and mock the Florida Panthers just like they were mocked. But this is not going to motivate them anymore. The fact that Connor and Leon and those guys haven't won a Stanley Cup, that's the motivation that they have.
Excuse me. And maybe there were some things along the way that we've missed that the Panthers viewed as disrespectful. Like maybe there were, right? And that have given them agency to just go ahead and do this. Ballsy says, more lack of sportsmanship. It's one thing to tease while the game is going, but when the game series is over, there's a reason that you shake hands. A sign of respect for I think that's supposed to say competition. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Brownie, like bulletin board material in the league is a thing. It does happen. You know,
not during the Stanley Cup Finals. Not in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right. And the point I'm making is that the Florida Panthers don't care. They've won back-to-back cups. They don't care. They beat this team twice, and they've toppled, you know, the McDavid Draisaitl Giants twice. And they aren't worried about bulletin board material. They aren't worried about this coming back to bite them because they believe they're that good and they don't care. And that'll drive Oiler fans nuts, Zuby, but that's just the facts here. They don't care and they're not worried about anything that Oiler fan might be sitting there going, we're going to get them because of this. They don't care.
Yeah, I think Brownie I think you kind of nailed it. I think it's probably more than anything just spillover from what sounds like was a really nasty trash talking series on the ice. So I'm sure it's just them making sure on top of hoisting the cup that they are taking a little victory lap. And again, like I said, they earned it at this point in time. Maybe it's just to troll the fans because the Oilers themselves, I mean, what can they say to clap back right now? Nothing. We'll see you next year.
The one video that I did like though, Schauger, was the Barkov one. When he went to his neighbor's house at 5 o'clock in the morning and they caught him on the doorbell cam. That one was funny.
And whoever's house he was at, the wife did not sound impressed. Like, no, she was not impressed at what trophy was at her door. That was funny.
Yeah. Where was Mike Smith there? Like, people are not loving this conversation. Move on. Who cares? Talk about the Oilers' future. Just my take, says Mike Smith. Yeah. So we won't bludgeon Oiler fan over the head, as we understand most of the people that watch this show are likely Oiler fans, but interesting the way that that all played out today. That was Takeaways, brought to you by Horizon Ag and Turf. Sorry, Chris. I know you will not have loved that segment in your segment, but I kind of did that on purpose to you. All right, when we come back, we got Brownie Points, we got Struddy's World, and we've got Ask Us Anything. So a loaded segment coming up here on Got Your Back. We will be right back. Fence, don't be fooled by cheap marketplace imitations. Get top quality vinyl fence from a trusted company with 20 years in the industry. With locations in Calgary and Edmonton, check out dlrvinylproducts.ca. For over 60 years, Belvedere Golf and Country Club has delivered a high-quality membership experience to Edmonton and area. And now it's even better. Drainage and irrigation improvements in 2024 have taken course conditions to a new level. This commitment to long-term sustainability means exceptional playing conditions all season long. Belvedere's tee sheet availability is unmatched, so join now and experience golf the way it was meant to be played, on your schedule. Visit belvederegcc.com today.
With over 18 years in the industry, Kelly Zaretsky and her team at Blue Summit Accounting deliver client-focused solutions and financial guidance for success in a simple and comfortable way. Whether it's for corporate or personal needs, Blue Summit Accounting can help with taxes, estate planning, financial services, bookkeeping, and more. Get in touch today. Email bluesummitacct@gmail.com or call 780-416-9662.
All right, time now for Brownie Points, brought to you by Hamel's Premium Jerky. Did you know the ultimate game day snack is Canadian-owned and operated? Opened in 1962 right here in Alberta. Support Canadian business and take part in their June special, $97.29 for 3 pounds of jerky. And as always, free shipping Alberta-wide. Visit albertajerky.com to see more. All right, Brownie, what do you got for points tonight, my friend?
Well, there's not a whole lot tonight because nothing is really going on in the sports world, but we're going to start with 799 brownie points to new Winnipeg Jet Jonathan Toews. It's been 799 days since he last played an NHL game. His health issues forced him away from the National Hockey League. Today he signed with the Jets, and here's hoping that Toews has a few more years left and he can eventually leave on his own terms. So good luck with Toews with the Winnipeg Jets. I got 2 huge brownie points to the 2 best teams in the National Hockey League and the 2 best franchises in the league. When players reach, when players, 2 of the biggest reasons that players sign when they get to free agency is winning and team family culture. And the Oilers and the Panthers have them both. We know that because days before big free agent market opens, Bennett, Marchand, and Ekblad have all indicated they want to stay. That's not a great negotiating ploy, but it's a message to management that they like where they are and will probably take less to stay there. We saw that last year in Edmonton where Henrique, Brown, Corey Perry, and even Leon Draisaitl took a little less money to stay here in Edmonton. There's the teams that have good culture, attract good players, and they stay longer. So hopefully the Edmonton Oilers and maybe not the Florida Panthers, hopefully the Edmonton Oilers can continue to draw the good players that want to come to a good culture. I got one huge one. This one's one right to my heart. One huge brownie point to our very own Ryan Rishaug, who just like RNH did in the finals, is playing hurt. He is on air tonight despite having, I thought, only one working Achilles, but apparently he has no working Achilles right now. He is, and this is from the heart, he is our modern day Bobby Baun, the famous Leaf that returned to a game with a broken ankle to score the game-winning goal. So Ryan Bobby Baun Rishaug. And my last one, I have 10 ginormous brownie points to all my buddies on GYB, Shogger, Struds, Just Steve, Zuby, and Randine. It's been another fantastic 10 months of chatting Oilers in life with the GYB gang and everyone out there watching and listening. I love this gig. I've enjoyed every second of it, and I look forward to doing it all over again next year, just with a little bit happier ending. And those are the last brownie points of 2024-25 season.
All right. So you're done too? Are you just now informing me that you're done for the pod season 2? That's it? Everybody's just bailing on us.
We have more? I didn't know we had more.
I don't know. I mean, I know you're getting on a plane and leaving. How long are you gone for? When do you get back?
August 10th.
Oh, so you're gone. Like you're...
Yeah, I've got Halifax, then the lake, then Disneyland, then the lake, and then I'll be home for Folk Fest. So there you go.
All right. Okay. Zuby, everybody bailed on us.
If you need me,
everybody buckled, Zuby. It's just going to be me and you.
Well, yeah, we can have Zuby's World show, and I'll gladly have you on as we can come up with something here to run out the clock.
I love it. That was brownie points. Hey, Zuby, can I challenge you a little bit on something?
Sure.
Can I challenge you a little bit here?
You may.
I'm just going to be a bit of a smartass here. But I noticed that you got after Elston Gunn in the chat. You have shut Elston Gunn down.
Yeah.
Right. And when I see that, I'm like, oh boy, this can be some serious business. It must be pretty aggressive, right? You shut Elston. So this are the points. These are the 2 that I see. So Elston Gunn is coming with a little bit of criticism for Oiler fans, saying worrying about the other team's goalie when you have 2 third stringers is nasty work. And then a crying, laughing emoji. He said, or just a crying, the arrogance to chant Sergey when you have Skinner between the pipes. Come on now. Karma was always going to come for y'all. So I'm going to challenge you a little bit. Was there more than that got him banned?
It's a troll. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 troll messages. So I thought that was enough.
Okay.
He wasn't really engaging. He was just stating things that he thought, it wasn't a back and forth. Connor McHugh, back-to-back chokes. McDavid's not the guy. Hard to remember a dude that won 0 cup. Like it's not engaging with the peeps at all. He's trying to troll. I think I gave him ample opportunity. But I don't
only
mind
saw
you
the
keeping me
2.
on. I don't mind you keeping me honest. And he only got a 10-minute timeout. And I'll tell you this: 95% of the trolls that I give a timeout to leave because they can't troll anymore. Instead, and a couple of people have waited out, and I have much respect for people who wait out their timeout and come back, and then usually they're actually a little bit nicer after a timeout. And they usually come back, like World's Worst Gamer here. Him and I had a little chat on Facebook the other night after he had to eat a timeout, and he's back, and he's he wants to make trolling great again. Anyway, it's all about it's. I try to give people a pretty long rope, but we have such a fun chat here. And great people. I try to keep the experience for them.
All right.
As awesome
You've
as
totally redeemed yourself. The 2 messages I saw, I kind of thought like, oh, those are, Oiler fan won't like those points, but those are fair.
No, they weren't.
If there was a whole string before, then I've got your back. I completely support you. But I just want to make sure we're being fair to everybody, and you absolutely are. Brownie, you're gonna get a timeout if you keep being so hard on me about my significant injuries.
What are you talking about? I gave you brownie points. I didn't take any away for being wussy.
Dude, brownie points actually mean something to me. I have been trying to get brownie points from you all season long. And I get excited at the idea that I'm going to get it. Yeah, but that was a BS tongue-in-cheek shot at me. You got 10 actual brownie points.
You got 10 ginormous ones.
Me brownie points. You've never just been like,
ginormous.
Here's something Schauger did good and giving me brownie points. You've never done that before.
Well, I mean, do something better.
I put that on a T for him, didn't I? God, I lose all these engagements. Damn it. Okay, Zuby, let's wrap the poll and then go to Ask Us Anything. Buddy.
Sure. And Gabriella C making a good point here. And we'll do this next year. You can change. Well, I didn't want to do it in the middle of the season. You can change your chat to subscribers only. And we'll do that for next season. And then people who want to troll us will have to help our numbers first by subscribing before they troll. So we'll take care of that.
A good reminder, if you don't currently subscribe, please do.
Or you can find yourself.
Yeah, we are. We're going to do Ask Us Anything, and then we're going to wrap your portion of the show with Struddy's World, buddy. But we'll do Ask Us Anything first.
Okay.
Zuby, let's wrap the poll first, though, buddy.
All right. So tonight's poll question was, which of these best describes how you, the chat, the fans, feel about the Panthers trolling the Oilers on social media? 41% say they won. They can do whatever they want. 29% say classless, bunch of jerks. 18% say they think about us more than we think about them. And 11% saying it's straight jealousy. Connor McDavid is in their heads. So,
all right,
pretty even, but the level-headed, they won, they can do whatever they want, winning out.
I like it. Generally speaking, Oiler fan is, I would say, pretty level-headed. So the results of that poll, I can get with that. Let's get to Ask Us Anything, brought to you by BJ Electric Supplies, an Edmonton-based independent electric wholesaler offering a wide range of products from lighting and lighting controls, wiring accessories, control and hazardous products as well. You name it, they'll probably have it. Serving electrical contractors working in Alberta's oil and gas, commercial, residential, and OEM sectors. Check them out at bjelectric.ca. I like when people try and make plans in our chat. Kayla Weethorn says, all y'all and your significant others need to come down to Texas and float the Guadalupe together with me. Ooh. Let's get a big group together and go. Please send pictures if a big group of Texas-bound Got Your Back fans end up hitting the Guadalupe.
I guess I got to make you into guest 3 here, so I've got something.
Oh, okay. Okay, you need a minute to get yourself sorted there. There you are.
There you are.
Okay, no problem. We're producing on the fly. I throw Zuby a lot of curveballs. Mike Smith says, at Rishaug, having the conversation about Bouchard is like the West Wing episode where they at least talk about replacing the vice president on the re-election ticket. I'm not sure. Is anybody talking about replacing Evan Bouchard? Like Evan Bouchard, no. I think that they've got to get him signed here.
Well, I love the West Wing reference. That was one of my favorite shows ever. That's a great reference right there.
Well, they're not replacing. Now. I'm in season 7 right now. I've watched it during the playoffs on all the flights. I've rewatched one of my favorite thing.
Very, very good.
Sorry, I had this question. It's going to become the Mike Smith show here for a little bit, but let's go to him first on this one. He says he has this premise: you don't need Bouchard to win the cup, and you don't need to replace him. You can fill multiple holes by trading him. Prove me wrong, Brownie. Prove him wrong.
Well, I mean, he probably there could be something right about that. I mean, you got $11 million to spend. If you don't spend it on Bouchard, they can fill some other holes. I don't think they're going to trade Bouchard. I think they will sign him, but I wouldn't discount what Mike Smith said there. I mean, there's probably some validity to it. You with that extra $11 million, you can go out and fill a couple spots that you need to fill. I just don't think they're going to do it. I think they'll sign him.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, people focus a lot on the points, and he puts up points at an unreal rate in the playoffs and, is a good point producer in the regular season. I just think that Evan Bouchard spends a ton of time on the ice, recovering pucks in his own end and putting it on the stick of Connor McDavid, and putting it on the stick of Leon Draisaitl, and putting it on the stick of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He makes so many important, simple, some are amazing, great puck-moving plays. He moves the puck in the right direction so often. His analytics are excellent. He can produce points. And you don't just replace that. You don't replace puck-moving ability like that simply. And if you go spend that money on two players and they're both half as good as Evan Bouchard at moving the puck, it just doesn't work that way. So there's value there that I think the Oilers absolutely need, and they're going to have to pay for. It's going to hurt and it's going to sting, but I do think that Evan Bouchard is too important a piece of this to not re-sign him.
Okay, let's continue with the Mike Smith show. Schauger, you said you'd defend this position. Mike Smith says, surprised to hear Schauger defend the Trent Frederick signing. 8 years, that's slightly less than $4 million. For what? The guy averages 13 goals a year. Just twice he has scored more than 15 goals in 7 seasons. Shake my head. What's your defense, Schauger?
Yeah. And it's a fair point. And I initially sort of went, when I, hear, and I think it's going to be like 3.75 or 3.8, something like that, whatever it ends up being. I think people have a tendency to take their perception of what a $4 million player is and apply it to the game right now and say, is Trent Frederick a $4 million player right now? And you think about that and it doesn't feel like it's a fit. But here's the thing. The whole landscape is changing. And the Oilers are signing these contracts, Brownie, with the outlook, the future outlook very much in mind and what the landscape looks like. What a $4 million player or a $3.75 million player looks and feels like in 3 years is going to be dramatically different than what people's perception is of a $3.75 million player today. The cap's going to be at $113 million. It is going up hugely. And so this is the Oilers placing a bet on a player who they love his attitude. They love the fact, how many guys could be your third line center, get you 15 to 18 and punch you in the mouth and stand up for your players and name the number of guys that can get you 15 to 20 goals, will punch you in the mouth and who can play third line center, right? It's not a long list. And I think the Oilers are just projecting, Brownie, what the cap environment will look like in 3 or 4 years.
But they're also betting he can do that because we don't know for sure he's going to score 15 to 20 goals playing on the third line for the Oilers because no other player's done that. The Oilers don't, their third and fourth lines don't score. You score playing with Connor and Leon, you score playing on their power play. And the other thing, this takes them to 35. And big physical wingers or centermen, big physical guys that play that way, 32, 33, 34, 35, they're not as effective. They start to decline. So I was shocked at the length. I was shocked at the money. And I hope Trent Frederick proves me wrong. He is the type of player the Oilers need, but I was shocked at both the amount of money and I was certainly shocked at 8 years.
Sometimes you have to place a bet and you have to it's like putting chips on the board. You just sort of say, hey, one of the best gambles that I can ever recall was the Leon Draisaitl contract. Different player. I'm not comparing him to Trent Frederick, but the point is, the Edmonton Oilers made an evaluation of who they had, what he was going to turn into, and what the cap was going to look like moving forward. And they went, yep, $8 million. We're putting this 8.5 down. And people went what? Lots of people were like, what? That was the Oilers placing a bet. And then, Leon Draisaitl became what he became. Like Trent Frederick, if all he is what he was in Boston through the life of this deal, the salary cap is going to skyrocket so much over the life of this deal that this is going to be like people's perception of $3.75 million when the cap is $128 million. It's going to change by year 5, 6 of this deal a lot.
Having said that, we had people call our show, said Leon Draisaitl's contract would be the worst contract in the history of hockey. We've had people call it Ched, but people will say people bet that the Oilers bet on Nurse too. So you can throw out Leon as an 8-year deal.
Brownie.
People are going to say they bet on Nurse as well.
They did not bet on Darnell Nurse. They bridged him twice. Betting on him would have been
and then
throwing
they gave him 8 years.
$6.5 million on the table times
and then
8
they gave him 8
years back
years.
when he was young.
And then they gave him 8 years.
But they backed themselves into a corner. They did not make the bet on Nurse that they made on Draisaitl. That they will make on Bouchard here. It's not the same thing with Nurse.
I disagree on that one. You give a guy 8 years, you're betting he's going to be worth it for 8 years.
Yeah. Okay. I'm giving you the last word on that one. It'll be interesting to see what happens here with Frederick. And yeah, so nice conversation there from Mike Smith. You got some more, Zuby, or where are we at?
Yeah, a couple more here. My buddy, and this has come up from a couple other people in a few other ways, but my buddy Merle just texted me. He's listening to the show here in Kelowna, and he says, if McDavid gets, he says 16, but let's say 16 to 18. Leon at 14, Bouch at 10 plus, Nurse at 9.25. Are the Oilers in some way becoming the new Toronto Maple Leafs with 4 guys tying up, even with the cap going up? And has that not sort of been proven to not be the best way to front load your cap, Brownie?
Well, it's true. I mean, I counted it up the other day, about $51 million between those 4 players. That's a lot of money for 4 players. So yeah, that is why you have all teams have a guy that only does salary cap stuff, simply to try and figure out what they can and cannot afford and how they can do this math Olympics. It would certainly be a concern, Schauger. It always will be. Every time you sign someone, there's a concern. Did we make the right choice? Whether it's Connor or Leon or Nuge or Frederick or Kane, you always have to wonder, did we make the right choice? Because you don't have an unlimited amount of space. So yeah, it's a concern, but it's something that I think Stan Bowman thinks Bouchard, McDavid, Draisaitl, well worth the gamble.
I think that in 4 years, with where the cap is going to be, there's only going to be one of those deals that people look at and go, oh, that is a major anchor, right? And I think potentially that's still going to be Darnell Nurse. I think that Evan Bouchard, he's shown you 2 years in a row, folks. He's shown you 2 playoffs in a row. He can be all world when the game is at its most critical and most important. So you bet on that guy. McDavid's going to earn his money. Draisaitl's going to be fantastic at $14 million. That's going to be an excellent deal as this cap goes up. So 3 of the 4, if you're earning the value, you're probably not in terrible shape. I don't see it as being prohibitive to winning. But they got to get some players in the system that at some point are going to come in and contribute on entry-level deals and get some younger, more skilled players for 3-4 years down the road that can get some stuff done at entry level. That's how you mitigate the high-end guys making what they make.
Okay, Shane A says, hey guys, the meat grinder Tanner Jeannot is a free agent July 1st. Is he the type of player Stan Bowman goes after? He's 28. He's that bottom 6 forward we badly need. Or is he a little bit too much duplication of Trent Frederick? Is he kind of the same thing, Schauger?
Yeah, I mean, similar. I like energy. I like guys that finish checks and play with energy and stick up for their teammates. But he's not the player that he's been, traded around to be. Like he hasn't really met that. So I think it needs to be reasonable. I think you can't overspend on another player with that dynamic. I think you've got enough here, and so just be really careful with overpaying that guy. It would be my thought.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think he's ever lived up to what they thought he was going to be. And in the end, I don't know how fast he is. I don't know if he's got the speed.
Mm-hmm. All right. You got maybe one more, Zuby? We're going to get a little long here. So
okay, yeah. Let me go. We're going to talk about Jonathan Taves, I think, but Kayla Weethorn wants to know, She says she's happy to read about the signing. How do you think he'll perform after being away from the game so long, Brownie?
I have no idea, but I hope he performs fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Jonathan Toews. I really am. And for what he's had to go through for the last few years, I hope he overachieves in Winnipeg. I really, really do.
Yeah, man. Was always a classy guy to deal with. I know he was well liked by his teammates. Tough to see a guy of that stature in the game have it end on terms that were not his. So I like the fact that he's been grinding and coming back for the love of the game, and we'll see what it results in. Apparently he's really taking great care of himself and is in, great shape and motivated and all that. So I hope for him that it goes really well. All right, that was Ask Us Anything, brought to you by BJ Electric Supplies. All right, we kind of did things a little bit out of order tonight. And with Strud's gone, Brownie is stepping up. Brownie's stepping into the big segment. Normally he does Brownie points and Struddy handles Struddy's world. But, I'm considering a promotion here. I'm considering a permanent promotion. Let's see how this goes. Maybe it's Brownie's world next season on the show. Just saying, I'm open to it. Time now for Brownie's World, brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. As Alberta's #1 vinyl product supplier, DLR offers top quality materials to build a fence or a deck that will not rot, will not fade, will not fall apart. If you need a skilled contractor to take care of the job or prefer a DIY approach, they can help set you up with all that you need. Canadian owned and operated, locations in Calgary and Edmonton. Visit them online at dlrvinylproducts.ca. That's my brothers, Rick and Rob. Rick runs the branch here in Edmonton, and Rob runs the branch down in Calgary. Brownie, what do you got, buddy?
Well, I'm going to try to do my friend Struddy proud. I love couples trips. I do. I love going on. My wife and I just went to Costa Rica with a couple couples. We used to do Vegas twice a year with a bunch of couples. I love family trips. Going to Disney next in 2 weeks' time. Went to Disney last year. But there's something special about a boys' trip. And on Sunday, I'm going away with, I think, 14 guys. We're flying to Halifax. It's a boys' golf trip. This is our 34th annual golf trip that we've done. We haven't missed a year in 34 years. And I was thinking today about putting together a boys trip. You just can't put it together. You have to have a group that fits perfectly. So the first thing you need is an organizer. Now, I'm the organizer of this trip, which means on this trip alone, I booked 3 Airbnbs. I got 2 SUVs booked. I've got rounds for 12 on 5 different courses. We're going up to Cabot to play. So I've got hotel rooms for 12 guys in Cabot. And because it's in Halifax, there's a music fest. The 12 of us are all going to, or 14 of us are all going to Nickelback on Friday night. So I'm the organizer. I've taken care of all that. But then when you get there, you need to get the food and the booze for the house. You need the guy that does the shopping. So you got Clarkey and Ritter, and they come with me. We go to Costco. We get all the food. We get all the booze. And you got to try and figure out, what do the guys eat? What dinners are we going to have each night? And then you just go in there and then you kind of throw everything into the cart and you bring it all home. But you have to have enough food and you certainly have to have enough booze. But then you get home, you have to have the cooks. Not everybody can cook. So there's only certain guys. In ours, it's Clarkey and Natron and Babs and Bobby Blacksox. Those are the guys that get to cook. No one else gets to touch the barbecue. Just those guys. And if you don't cook, well, then you're part of the cleaning crew. And that is everybody else that knows shit about cooking. So I'm in that group. So I don't know how to cook at all. So I'm part of the cleanup crew. So you got to have people that do all of this stuff. Well, now, when you're there in the pool, having some drinks, you need the bartender. The bartender, he's the guy that still got enough to get in and out of the pool to pour and carry drinks. Because a few in our group have let themselves go, let's be honest. They're just a tad bigger than they used to be. And getting out of the pool, it's both painful for them and it's painful for us to watch. So they stay in the pool, and you got the bartender guy that goes to and from the kitchen, makes the drinks, throws the beers in, because there's some guys that we do not want to see get out, because when they come out of the pool, their bathing suits come down a little bit, and it's not a pretty sight for anybody. Now, when you're in the house, you're having some drinks, you've had some food, you need the house DJ. Now, that's important. You can't make a mistake on this one. We did a couple years ago. We had a guy, we let Bubba. Bubba ran the music. And Bubba got into this thing where he loved this song called Fly Over States. He put it on, what's it called? Return, or when it just plays over and over and over and over for 24 hours straight. And in our house, every single bedroom, and that trip we had 18 guys, every single bedroom had a speaker all night long. Fly Over States, full horse. You cannot turn it off because Bubba's a big man. So when you go out there, you growl at you, you go back to bed. So make sure you have a good DJ. When you go to the bar, and we go to the bar, you need a wingman. We have lots of fun with each other, but we like when other people come and talk to us. So we got Marps, and he's a big, big teddy bear at 6'5". And when he jumps on the scale, it says, "Hello, big boy." So he's the guy that can go up to a table full of models, and go to a table full of bikers, a bunch of old guys, a bunch of young kids. And eventually everybody loves Marps. When they leave, they're trading emails, high fives, hugs. But Marps brings the whole party to us. So you got to have a good wingman. You need a yes man. Now, this is important because sometimes you don't know. Maybe it's late at night and everything's closed. And the cabbie says, when you ask him, is there anywhere for last call? Well, there is, but it's kind of an alternative lifestyle kind of bar. And we're like, we're Canadian. We don't care. We'll go anywhere. So you get there. And when you're in there and you look down at the stage, you're like, I want to dance on stage. You need that guy like Beebs who says, yes, let's do it. So now you're dancing on stage in this alternative lifestyle bar. And there's Beebs and I up there dancing. So you need one of those yes guys. But you also, in your group, need a deterrent. Now, sometimes a drink gets spilled. You say something to a Calgary Flame fan, they get mad. We got Bubba. Bubba is at 6'4". He's got a very, very healthy frame. He's much better suited as the deterrent than the DJ. So everybody needs a Bubba in their group. But you also, sometimes it gets a little more frolicky. You need a deterrent. So we've got the Biffer. We chose the guy that flew Hercs for the Canadian Air Force. He's the Biffer, and he talks things over. Sometimes we have to buy drinks for other people, but the Biffer is a good guy for being the peacekeeper because he's been on a lot of peacekeeping missions. Mm-hmm. You need a moral conscience. Now, we're still looking for that. That guy has not shown up on our trip yet. But if you're out there right now, we are looking for the moral conscience. Now, there is also a thing. You have to have nicknames. Like on our group, we got Babs, we got the Biffer, we got Ritter, Marps, Glitter, Hot Fuzz, Teabag, Short Hog. Now that's a tough handle. When you're in a bar, you start yelling, "Hey, Short Hog, do you want a drink?" It's embarrassing for him, but that is his handle. If you don't have a nickname and if you have a friend that wants to come on the trip and you have no nickname for him, he's not a close enough buddy to come on your trip. So if you have no nickname for someone, he's not allowed on a boys' trip. We have one rule for our trip. Everybody is welcome on the trip, and there is a lifetime invitation, unless, of course, you are dead to me. And once you're dead to me, you never, ever get to come on the trip again, unless, of course, we're one guy short. Then you'll get to come on the trip. But that's the only way when you're dead to me. This here is our 34th year doing it. It's still going strong. And in 48 hours' time, we will be at Cabot in Nova Scotia, golfing and drinking and enjoying a boys trip. And that is tonight's Struddy's World.
Struddy's World, brought to you by DLR. Wow, that there's a lot to unpack there, Brownie. I will say, I think that as the organizer of the trip, you should be getting a pass on dishes. Like, you put in a lot of work ahead of time. You should get to sit back on the couch with a margarita and just chirp as the organizer of the whole thing.
Yeah, but I can't cook at all, so I do clean up. I'm a very cleaning guy. So in the mornings, I get up down early and I'll clean up the stuff that was left out, at 4 or 5 in the morning when the guys come back and reheat all the food that we had at 6 o'clock. They have it again at 4 in the morning. So, but it is 34 years.
Car Ramrod says Brownie crushed that. Zuby, any thoughts? Who would you be on that trip, Zuby? What would your role be?
Oh my goodness, there were too many. I'm an organizer as well, and I like I've said on the stream, I'd teach myself to cook better if it meant I didn't have to clean. That's for sure. I hate cleaning.
So I'd like to nominate myself. I feel like I could be the conscience. I've got a pretty strong moral compass and a pretty strong moral conscience. And, you guys need another person to add to the group. I got multiple nicknames: Shogger, Rish, Shoggy, right? So I come with a nickname ready to go. If you don't mind me only being able to golf every third day because I got bad heels, I might qualify here.
Well, we're going to a golf course that is walking only, but we do have a few guys that get the cart with the little flag on it because they are unable to walk.
That would be me.
Can get in with that group. Yep. You will be. We call it the Bears on Bike group because when you watch it, you're like, okay, that is like going to the circus watching that golf group.
All right, Brownie. Great stuff, buddy. We're going to say so long to you. We got lots of pod left. We got Dennis King coming up here. But as always, buddy, an absolute blast. Please enjoy some much needed time off And I know you and I haven't talked off air yet, but I don't know. You feel like doing it again next season? You going to come back?
I will, 100%.
All right. Lock it in. We got Brownie back. Now I just got to nail down that Struds guy. Thanks, pal.
All right. Bye, guys. Everyone have a fantastic summer.
Hey, Brownie, have a great trip and give my best to Short Hog, okay?
Hey, everyone wants to talk to Short Hog.
All right. See ya, buddy. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. All right, Zuby. Listen, you and I are going to persevere, right? You and I are going to persevere. We're not shutting it down. We got some more to talk about, some more pods to do in the days to come. So keep an eye on our social media feed, and we'll get that out there. Great conversation with Dennis King, a guy that loves analytics, loves the numbers. We've kind of been combatants a little bit over the years, but really enjoyed having him on the show. So that conversation is coming up next year on Got Your Back, presented by Play Alberta.
Ready to go all in this season? Mr. Dirk's got you covered with express on-site tailoring, a wide selection of craftsman-made suits, sport coats, and casual staples for every occasion. Score big with Mr. Dirk. We've always got your back. Visit us off White Ave, south of 102nd Street, or browse online at mrdirk.com.
Specializing in heavy-duty commercial truck powertrain repair, performance, tuning, and part sales, Adrenaline Diesel's professional team is ready to assist you with all of your needs, from the simplest oil changes to engine conversions, overhauls, and engine modifications. Featuring an all-new online parts store and machine shop to manufacture, replicate, or repair parts, visit adrenalinediesel.ca.
So at Timberhouse, our guiding philosophy is naturally inspired living. We believe that through design, we can solve problems and enhance people's lives. We follow biophilic design principles in all of our builds to incorporate natural materials, natural light, to enhance all the spaces in a home. When you have your space perfectly reflect who you are and what you value, and it's made well, we think that that just leads to better living.
All right, time now to take a lap, brought to you by Acon. If you're a skilled tradesperson or construction professional and you're looking for work in Western Canada, they want to hear from you. And it's real easy. Grab that resume, fire it at them. Trades@acon.com is the email address. That's trades@acon.com. One of Canada's original industrial contractors building some of the largest multi-year industrial projects in Western Canada, and you can be part of it. Once again, that's trades@acon.com. Well. Two worlds colliding on Got Your Back tonight, making his Got Your Back debut. Very familiar voice to those that listen to the Lowdown with Low Tide. Very familiar follow on Twitter. Longtime Oiler fan. He's done some blogging over the years. Heavy analytics guy and knows his stuff. Dennis King joins us here on Got Your Back. Dennis, can you believe we're here together sharing the airwaves after all we've been through?
Yeah, I think this is like, I don't watch as much wrestling as I used to, but there's this whole thing in AEW with Forbidden Door where you have like the guys from the Japanese wrestling to come over, and that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, Zuby, you're more of a wrestling guy. Does that make sense? I'm just not sure who's the heel and who's the, what is it? What's the heels?
I'm the heel. Listen, I'm the heel.
You're the heel? Okay.
This is your territory, Ryan, so he's the heel coming in for sure. So, but yeah, Forbidden Door, that's definitely a good term to use here.
All right. So wrestling people out there are happy with that, and they're nodding their heads, and everybody else is confused and scratching them, which we're all good with. Listen, Dennis, I've always enjoyed your stuff. I think you have a really unique and interesting perspective on the game. You know, you and I have had at it a few times, over the years, but it's all good. Your stuff, I think, is really valuable. I thought you had some great stuff this year analyzing the blue line. And I know you listen to the show and you're passionate.
I do.
So honestly, the first thing I want to do, Dennis, is I want to give you a chance. As someone who's listened to the show all year long, you probably feel like we have some blind spots and we have some areas where, you're sitting there yelling at your phone or your computer saying, you guys just aren't seeing this. So I'm serving it up for you. What do you think our blind spots were this year? What did you disagree with? And try and keep it to like 90 seconds and not 7 minutes, because I'm sure there's a lot.
I think, well, I mean, there's two things come to mind. I think primarily it was the whole discourse on Evan Bouchard. To look at him and to look at everybody else in the league and to look at the way that he stimulates the breakouts and the offense. There were times I was just totally apoplectic that everybody else couldn't kind of see that. I mean, you would see like, okay, throws one up the middle. Okay, well, just, rewatch a game and tell me what his completion is for passes and all the times that the quick ups in the neutral zone that lead to the rush chances that I just couldn't, I just couldn't believe that it wasn't like that the theory on Bouchard wasn't like, well, there's a lot more good than there is bad. And the other one that me and you kind of, because it seems funny that I'm here because, we've had some fun, but it's never gotten to be, totally not too much animus. But anyway, me and you went back and forth in the background about this, and I had a theory about the Oilers were just wasting time and possession with point shots. And then we touched base again in the playoffs, and I showed you okay, here was their shots per 60 in the regular season, and now here it is in the playoffs, and all of a sudden you had a lot more shots from the forwards. And so those two things that I thought, if you're kind of watching every game, to me it was just like, okay, we should love Evan Bouchard, and also, my God, just stop with the button hooks and the shots from the point.
You were very consistent all year long on both of those things. The one thing I'll challenge you on a little bit, though, is I think that Bouchard defenders get a little bit, I don't want to use the word oversensitive, maybe protective, because I think, on the podcast, we're doing post-game shows and we're analyzing what happened tonight. And we often break down the goals and where was the mistake and and I think there's a difference, Dennis, between us breaking down a tough night from Evan Bouchard where he had 2 or 3 mistakes. Doesn't mean we're saying that he's not a valuable player, that they shouldn't re-sign him and that they shouldn't, I feel like we need to be able to break down the specifics of a player's night without having people who really appreciate that picture or that player in the big picture going off like crazy saying, yeah, but this guy, look at this guy's season's numbers, this guy's season's numbers. And I guess I would just challenge you and say, do you think at times the Bouchard protectors get a little bit protective because nobody's trying to run anybody out of town? We're just breaking down some nights that he had some tough nights here and there. Or do you think we were unfair on him?
I think this whole thing about me coming through that forbidden door is just, and not exactly you guys, but I kind of thought that there was kind of some context needed on what happened in the finals for one. That was kind of really annoying me to watch everybody say, oh, this was a walkover and this series wasn't close. And when
I'd love to hear that from you. I'd love to hear that from you in a minute. Finish your thought on my point on Bouchard.
Yeah, so I just think, I think it's honestly a different way of kind of looking at the game. I can kind of live with mistakes if I know that ultimately the good far outweighs the bad. So I'm kind of maybe willing to look past some stuff. And I think the difference is if we looked at the other side of the coin, I was never a big Adam Larson fan because if he turned the puck over, he could not do anything to get that back.
Right.
There was no way for him to get it on the other end. I found that there was way too much love for Chris Russell when he continuously backed in over the blue line, and he was only blocking shots because he was afraid to step up and stop and execute the zone entry, right? Zone denial. Yeah. So I think that's what it is, and I apply that, to all sports. If we talked about baseball and you said, Dennis, this guy's hitting 225, I would say, okay, but his hard hit percentage is 45%, and it's going to come.
Yeah. So you value different things. I mean,
yes,
I know you value the analytics, the numbers, and I do too, quite frankly. The point I would make to you is just because we're breaking down a tough night from a guy doesn't mean we don't think he belongs, doesn't think we think they should trade him. You know, and in our big picture discussions about Evan Bouchard on the show this year, while there was some debate about whether the long-term deal was smart or not or whatever, you know, and certainly in the playoffs here, I think we always maintain, and I certainly always maintain, this is an incredibly valuable player. And you know, sometimes he has tough nights and we have to break that down too, but certainly respect your view on that. This point shot thing was really interesting. Give it to us in a nutshell.
Yeah,
and you really feel that it hurt them this year?
Oh yeah, I mean, and honestly, like before we move on to that, I will say that I think I really got to Strudwick when it came to Bouchard, and I basically think that it was akin to Strudwick was Brian Wilson, and I was Eugene Landy, and I just talked to him every day, and I kind of straightened him out on what was happening.
Okay, sure. Woodpecker on the side of the head.
But yeah, no, and I love Ekholm, and Ekholm obviously, he was honestly, he was compromising in the playoffs, and you could kind of see that. But
sure.
I kind of hated how much he shot when he came back. I think it was Game 5. I was just absolutely driven nuts. It was just like shots without waiting for anybody to get in front, shots that didn't produce rebounds. And there was one point, man, and you and I talked about this, when Wildman came over, and I sent you some stats, and I was like, oh my God, like we've already got like Nurse who should not shoot, and Ekholm, and now Wildman is here too. Like I really was like, my God, I don't know if I can kind of handle this. So yeah, no, for me, I kind of thought I saw that early on, and I'm not always right. But I think when I showed you the difference in the regular season to the playoffs, there's not a lot of debate. That all of a sudden more shots from the forwards and the defensemen took on a secondary role, and I thought it was greatly to the benefit of the team.
Yeah, no, you were really consistent with that. And listen, man, I'm always willing to listen to other ideas and consider the idea that I'm not looking at it the right way. Struds is as well. The one thing I would debate you on a little bit on the shots from the point is I do want the defenseman to fundamentally be thinking if the lane is there to shoot. And I think the onus is on the forwards to do a better job of making sure they're getting into the high traffic areas. So rather than say to the defenseman, pass up good shooting opportunities, even if you've got a lane, I would rather be saying to the forwards, man, do a better job. Get into the shooting, get into the goalie's eyes faster. Make sure you're not flaring off to the side looking for a one-timer from your point man. Get to the front of the net. I think the Oilers didn't do a good enough job of getting to the front of the net, and I think that contributed to the inefficiency of those point shots. What say you?
Okay, well, we could actually we could go to shot maps and see how many ideas from the defensemen were good in the first place. I like that, like the weak side D, right?
Yep.
You got your puck and all your players concentrated on one side, and then the opposite side, D steps down, and he's getting the shot from close to the top of the circle. This stuff with like standing still up top, or like Darnell Nurses just come in and shoot like straight up stuff, it's just useless.
Yeah, fair enough. You made some really good points on that. Wanted to ask you, let's finish your thought on the final and your perception of what happened and what maybe, some pundits missed in the analysis. What say you?
I think, after Game 4, it looked like McDavid was really going to crack open. I mean, he was killing it when it came to high danger scoring chances. He was in like the 60% with expected goals. And I'm going to tell you something that I never saw anybody else look at or bring up at the end of it. So for the first 4 games, you take Game 3 and Florida wins that game 6-1, and it looks like all hope is lost. If you drill down and use all strengths, and I will kind of use that because, it seems like apropos to throw the power play in at a time when maybe Gullickson is going to go to Dallas and we're going to have like a new power play coach. So if we threw in all strengths instead of just 5-on-5, the way that Florida dominated Game 3 in expected goals for, Edmonton did the exact same thing in games 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then game 4 is a coin flip. I think it was 51% Florida, 49% Edmonton. So in those first 4 games, if you look at who carried the play, Edmonton had 2 decided advantages. Florida had 1. Game 4 is a coin flip. So for anybody to say that Florida should have finished that series in 5 games, I don't know. I just this is why I'm here. I just think everything is way too knee jerky. You kind of look at things and say, well, they won 6-1 and they this, that, and the other thing, and it should have been over earlier. No, I mean, they lost it in game 5, and I think some of the things that happened in game 5, and you pull me off this if you want to move on to something else.
Sure.
In that first period, so in the first period, you start out with Brown and McDavid and Nuge, and Connor Brown gets kind of a semi-breakaway. Later on, McDavid hits the post, and once it becomes 2-0, Knoblauch panics, changes the way that he's going to run his lines, and then you're kind of chasing forevermore. Also, Paul Coffey must go. Unequivocally. You can't. The way that he ran his deep pairings with Kulak on his offside, if people have the games kept on their PVR, please go back and watch Brett Kulak trying to break out the puck on his offside.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that it's a fair point, and I definitely noticed the same thing. Kulak showed this year that he could handle playing on the right side. And I think they were in a position where, and I'm not defending him, and I'm not saying that I disagree with you about some of the deep pairs and the way they went with it was a little bit off, and I agree. But Kulak had a record this year of being okay on the right side. And by just being able to play him over there, it gave them some different looks that I think they wanted to try and explore. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but he had a record this year of being able to handle that better than last year for sure.
Okay, so this is why I'm here, and this is the counterpoint. Go look at the numbers with Kulak and Nurse, if we're talking about using the guy on his offside, as opposed to Wildman and Nurse.
Yep.
Wildman and Nurse were much better. Kulak and Nurse, even when they had good expected goals for percentage, the on-ice shooting percentage lagged big time.
Yeah,
it just never happened. They just were maybe 1 or 2 goals on the water in terms of goals for and against, because nobody scored when they were on the ice for their own team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And if you go look at Wallman and Nurse, it was much better. And for some reason, Ryan, there was a determination made that both Kulak and Nurse should play more 5-on-5 minutes than Jake Wallman. And I think if we looked at the evidence, that was totally the wrong decision.
Yep, some fair points. And there was a lot of movement in and around that decor. They struggled to find it. And I think the sheer number of moves that were made tells you that they weren't able to find it. What did you think of Knoblauch's handling of the forwards in Game 6? I was a little bit critical. I felt like he had a plan going in to get McDavid and Draisaitl together right away. And after a pretty good first 3 shifts, he should have deviated and just let the lines roll a little to see what they had. And I didn't love that. What do you think about kind of all the juggling and such in that specific one?
I think that there was maybe 400-minute sample size in the regular season where Draisaitl and Podkolzin and Alfredsson were 11-9 goals for and against, which is 55% goals for, with an actual expected of 60% goals. And I think that we saw some spark with Connor McDavid and Jeff Skinner. And I think that as more and more time went by in that Stanley Cup final, I think Knoblauch was very prone to panic. Now, if you want to say that he had to because the goaltending was so bad that they were down by 2 goals in the first period, I can kind of agree with a lot of that. But I thought that there were certain things that they had done earlier, and even things that you could look back on, because, Ryan, the point of playing everybody with everybody in the regular season is that when the playoff times come and maybe you're banging your head up against the wall, you go back through the data and say, oh, okay, this worked. We can go back and try this. And I thought, this is going to sound strange to say, but I thought that, like, the idea of making sure that you had enough minutes at 5-on-5 for Corey Perry and Evander Kane totally messed up some stuff that had worked previously.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I didn't mind them elevating Kane right at the end, kind of saying, look, it's been ugly, but the team needs you. So here's a chance. Here's a big stage. Go be the man. I don't mind that logic. I understand why they did that. It didn't work, but I understand why they did that. Their options were slim.
I mean, and this is kind of just a precursor and I guess a preview to what we'll talk about after. When I talked about Jeff Skinner, maybe because he did play well, Skinner and McDavid and Hyman were fantastic in the last. That wasn't an option, but I would have tried to play off that, the by play and the puck play, because Skinner can think with McDavid. Yeah. And I would have tried to find a third for that. But just to preview what we'll talk about after, let's play this game. You're a guy who can score 15 to 18 goals a year, 5-on-5. I'm Stan Bowman, and I call you and say, hey, you know why we lost the Stanley Cup final? Because we got eaten alive by the third line. That made a difference. Do you want to come? You won't get power play time, but do you want to come and put us over the top by scoring 15 goals at 5-on-5? If I was you, I would say, how did that work out for Jeff Skinner? So I got a problem with the way that Knoblauch seemed to be more interested in the things that Jeff Skinner couldn't do rather than the things that he could. And he scored one time in Washington and then took a healthy scratch, and I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, I remember that. And, you and I were aligned on that one. I thought there was a blind spot with Knoblauch when it came to Jeff Skinner this year. And on a team desperate for top 6 contributors, top 9 contributors, you just can't afford to have a blind spot on a player that can produce the way he did given the minutes that he got. So we'll agree on that one.
Ryan,
great stuff.
Every player doesn't have to do everything.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And he was, I think there was a little bit more focus on some of the setbacks in his game, and the trust just was never there. Okay, that was a look back. Dennis, I want to take a look forward here. We got a segment called Core Adjustments, and that's taking a look forward to what the Oilers should have coming down the pipe next. That's brought to you by HSE Core Services. If you're a small to medium-sized business, they have your back when it comes to health and safety compliance. From creating and managing a tailored health and safety program, meeting all legislation and core requirements, they support their clients' operations every step of the way. Visit www.hsecor.com. That's hsecore.com for more information. So Stan Bowman had his press conference earlier on today. The D reasonably set. Don't expect a lot of changes there. Dennis, I think they're going to swap out some forwards here. I think Jeff Skinner will be moved on. I believe Evander Kane has played his last game as an Oiler. We'll see what the mechanism is for that to happen. Potentially Victor Arvidsson. We will see what happens. Connor Brown, depending on how much term he is looking for and what the dollar figure is. I think they're going to try and get Corey Perry done. Trent Frederick's about to sign a pretty significant deal here long term. It's going to be just under $4 million a year. But there is room to elicit some change up front. So, again, we don't know how much money they're going to have to work with here. But what do you think the priority should be as far as the forwards go?
I think the priority for the forward should be you have more money for goal scoring, because if Connor McDavid is really about winning, being everything, he's got to face the facts when it comes to Darnell Nurse. We just got into a discussion about Kulak had to play on his offside to help Darnell Nurse. Last year, a young kid named Broberg had to play on his right side last year to help Darnell Nurse. You got a guy making 9.25 who can't play his offside. He can't elevate his D partners. He needs the opposite to be done. So I had this thought in my head yesterday, and I love McDavid. And you know what, man? If McDavid goes and says to Bowman, I'll 8 years, but these fellows cannot be they cannot be greenlit. They can't go, we're going to win with them, you keep them, and I'll stay. If he does that, there's still a chance they could win. You might win with Darnell Nurse in your top 4 or with Stuart Skinner as part of a tandem. But as I watched that press conference yesterday, I thought, what does he really think doing everything possible to win means? What do you think it means? Right? I mean, honestly, do you want to, it would be great if you could win a championship with all your friends. Where do you put that on your list of priorities?
What do you think the mechanism is if the organization were to decide to move on from Darnell Nurse? Is it, what's the trade value? Other teams obviously are watching and paying close attention, right? They know the contract. And would there have to be retention involved? And I guess the reason I ask that is if you have to retain $2.5 million on his contract, I mean, is it worth it? Because, you can debate all day long whether he's $9.25 worth a defenseman, but I mean, he's a $7 million defenseman most days of the week, is he not?
I'd say that's 6, depending on what, the cap right now. Yeah. If you're looking at how it looks, I mean, we just saw it with Seth Jones. And, I mean, the other thing is, how I feel about how to evaluate players, and it's based on for an analytical bent. And fortunately, Ron, if we're trying to make trades, there's probably 15 teams in the league that don't care one whit about analytics. And we'll look at Nurse and say, oh man, this guy skates like the wind, and he's huge, and he's tough, and maybe we'll just have maybe we can unlock him. And you know what? Maybe somebody could. But I mean, Jake Wallman is better, and he's making $3.95 and probably won't eclipse 6 on a new deal. And so, I mean, okay, so now you got to, let's say, how much did the Hawks eat on Jones? Well, that's your template for what happens with Nurse. So, this is what I don't like the player. I think there's too many warts. I think years ago it was oh man, maybe Jim Playfair didn't do a good job coaching him. Okay, now maybe Paul Coffey is not doing a good job coaching him. I just don't see anything that ever improves with Nurse. So, I mean, if McDavid wants to say, man, winning is everything. Well, I'm going to tell you, you could find somebody at $4 million that a middling to bottom feeding team is going to give up on mid-season, like we saw with Ekholm, Wallman, even Alexander Carrier. You can get those guys, Ryan. They pop open. Everybody is at a different level when it comes to contention, different part of the cycle. So, you couldn't, honestly, if you moved on from Nurse and saved $2.5 million, you could have 3 lines now. You can have something that approximates that third line of Florida. That's the third line comes from ELCs, entry-level contracts, or the Lundell's on an amazing second one, or veterans that are just coming in 1 or 2 years. I mean, I think they should the defense is fine, take Nurse away, let Wallman play as offside until somebody else pops up. Because I bet you can always find defensemen. I mean, it's been proven over and over. Yeah. You need more money in the forwards and the goaltending. That's basically it, man.
So move Darnell Nurse, shake a little bit of cash loose, spend a little bit more up front, give yourself that top 9 depth that maybe pushes you over the edge. Where's your head out on the last thing here, Dennis, before we let you go, but where's your head out on the goaltending?
The most you can do is have one last year of Skinner being a 1B, but and I know it seems like I just want to fire and get rid of everybody, but it's from the point of me looking at things from an efficiency standpoint to say that I think that there's things that the Oilers should do differently. I don't know how you can have goalies regressing and not reevaluate what you're doing with your net minding coach. I don't understand how somebody gets to keep their job when you continuously have people that don't improve. If I was to keep Skinner, I would have a different person in charge of his workouts. And that was, definitely. You can't do this again, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Stan Bowman discussed that today too. We talked about it a little bit earlier on the show. I think, Dennis, that they are going to want to give themselves an opportunity to have a higher level of goaltending heading into next year's playoffs, right? So whether that's somebody else and Stuart Skinner, and between the two of them, it's a tighter battle for that number one job and someone who could potentially push and provide a higher level.
Jake Allen.
See that? Yeah, sure.
Allen.
I mean, sure. Pick, there's some experienced guys around. I just think they can't go in with the status quo. I don't believe they will. Now, I'm not convinced that that'll be right away. They might start the year with the same goaltenders they have. Might go right through January and then evaluate it at the trade deadline. I think Stan Bowman is willing to do this, but I also think he knows how hard it is to find the right fit goaltending-wise, and changing just for the sake of change and using resources unless you're certain. I think he's going to be hesitant to do that. And I think that's probably pretty smart, but I do think that a change heading into the playoffs, just a different face that maybe gives you a chance at a higher level, would be smart.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I'm with you on the timeline too. For instance, I would move Nurse and have more and actually have three lines that could score, and then you would start the year with Ekholm and Bouchard and Kulak and Ty Wildman on his right side, entry-level guy to play with Ty Emberson. We got to look at too. I mean, and then I would move on from Kulak before the end of the year, because if you're kind of looking to emulate people that are winning, how much money are Kulikov and Nate Schmidt getting? I think I think that's where you look. You don't spend a lot of money on your third pair, and if it comes to the point where you get a real right-handed defenseman in the middle of the season, and Wildman and the new guy are top four, well, then I think Kulak at 2.7 is a luxury.
Yeah, great points. Buddy, this was fun. I'm really glad we got a chance to do this. Before I let you go, any last shots you want to fire? Any last, anything sticking in your craw? Anything you want to point out? Anything else you want to get in before I set you loose?
Yeah, you're kind of asking for it now, so okay.
So take your time, just not too long.
No. Just one point. We've had a lot. You had a long time in Edmonton with influence from what was called the Old Boys Club.
Yep.
And it seems like Paul Coffey is like the last weed that needs to be plucked.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he's tight with Cates. I think it's a bit much for Paul Coffey to jump behind the bench and to run defensive pairings. Ted Williams couldn't teach people how to hit, and Wayne Gretzky was a horrible head coach. So Paul Coffey should not feel bad about not being able to translate hand-eye coordination to actually teaching. I just don't want anybody behind the bench that will not use data and that will instead go with their gut. There's lots of evidence that could have given Paul Coffey much better options for how he ran his defense pairings. That's it. That's the last word. He should not be there.
Right on, buddy. Listen, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for the feedback you've been giving us, and really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, no, I kind of enjoyed talking to you much more than I thought I would.
Hey, that feeling is super mutual, buddy. Super mutual. Right back at you. Thanks, Dennis. We'll do this again sometime, buddy.
Yeah, sure, man.
All right, take care. That is Dennis King, DKingBH, at DKingBH. On Twitter is where you can find him. Zuby, he and I have had at it over the years. He's one of those guys. He's on Twitter. He's not afraid to be abrasive. He's kind of hard on the media, but he has toned it down just a little bit the last little while, which I appreciate. But he's one of those guys that really thinks the game different. Like, everything is driven through the numbers and data. And I certainly respect that, and kind of interesting to have a different take.
Yeah, I hadn't heard his take before, kind of on the point shot thing. That's interesting. I'd like to dig into that a little bit more myself, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a fun, it's a good character for sure.
For sure. Right on. All right, folks. Well, that is going to wrap up the show. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Yes, Brownie is heading out of town. Yes, Struds is gone, but we still have a draft coming up, Zuby. You know, we've still got free agency coming up, so we got some things that we got to get to here on the show. We're not going to disappear entirely. We might not be 4 strong episodes a week like we were through the playoffs, but we're not going to disappear just yet. So do us a favor. Keep an eye on our socials. We'll try and keep you up to speed on when we're going to drop some pods, and we have intentions of having a little bit more fun before the end of the year, buddy.
There were people on the stream last night panicking. Is this the last show? Said, no, stick around. It's Struddy's last show. We got more to come. Don't freak out.
Without throwing my guys under the bus too much, let's just say Got Your Back management was surprised and a little off guard to find out that the talent was all getting on planes and leaving as of Friday night.
On the same day.
So we're juking and jiving.
Game 7.
Yeah. So maybe we'll just hear from some other voices like we did tonight with Dennis King. There's some other great voices out there, so we'll look to diversify a little bit. But thanks everybody for joining us. Look forward to chatting again soon. This has been Got Your Back presented by Play Alberta. Talk to you soon.